Hello, my name is James L. Carr Jr., candidate for the U.S. Senate. Today, it is my pleasure to speak with Ms. Arynn Mitchell, who's 18 and ready to attack life. Ms. Mitchell, I really appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome.
Do you want me to go ahead and?
Right. So basically, before we get started, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so as you just said, I am 18. I graduated 2021. In May, I went to an art school in Winston-Salem. I was a drama student, and I was there for about a year. So it was a specific program where a high schooler could audition for their school. It's a university, so it's UNC School of the Arts in Winston-Salem, and so you could audition, and then you would be a part of their high school program, and so you would basically just be living amongst your peers, and it was a boarding school, so you would stay there, and you would take your classes with your groups and with your art cohort, and the only thing that was really shared amongst the college students was the cafeteria. So that experience in itself was really eye-opening, and it was a lot, transitioning from being in a private Christian school in Harrisburg, Village Christian Academy, and to then going to an art school. That was the transition was just like mind-boggling, because educationally it was just different because of how everything was set up. It was a bit more traditional, with the school system, and I think it was just different. So I graduated there, and then before that I went to an art school here in Charlotte, North Carolina, a Northwest School of the Arts. I did that for a little bit, but then COVID kind of hit, so I wasn't even really there for like the full year. I was there my junior year. So I guess I'm kind of going backwards. So, and then before that I was at Village Christian Academy from middle school pretty much until 10th grade, which was when I left. And school has never really been like my favorite, like a subject that I just rave about. I love to learn, we do it all our lives with whatever we're doing, whether we're in school, whether we leave and we go to college, we're still learning constantly. And then even after that, when we go to work, we're learning. So that's always a part of life. And learning was fine with me. I think the problem for me in school was just like the system, and how there is a way of how everything is done from the time you go to school to the time you graduate. And I just felt like there was this huge gap of like, well, what about there were so many questions that I had, and so many things that I was just like concerned about, like, well, what if I don't know if college is right for me? Like, how do I know if I'm going to succeed? How, like, because I'm not going to know if I want to do something unless you start it. But, with college, that's very time consuming, and it's also very expensive. And so there was just a lot of factors to take into consideration. And so now I am halfway through my gap year. So like I said, I graduated 2021, and now I'm just working. I have a car, which is nice. So that's kind of one of the goals that I had been working towards. Once I got out of school and sort of got a job, and sort of tried to figure out at least a small aspect of what my plan was for the near future. So yeah.
Wow. I tell you, you're very articulate. So here's sort of my theory in life, and sort of my generation. So raising my own kids, I thought, okay, everybody wants to go to college.
Yeah.
And now two of the three, we still have one at home. Two of them
Mhm.
are in college, but I realized that a lot of their friends didn't want to go to college. And
Mhm.
and so I think for my generation and really the previous generation, we always thought in terms of college, that was sort of the next stage, the next step in the process.
Mhm.
And what I realized in my own life now thinking back on it, so when I graduated from high school, I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to go to the
Mhm.
Air Force. Now my parents were
Mhm.
upset with me because they wanted me to go to college. And I realized today that what's happening is that we're trying to get you guys to follow our dreams for you, as opposed to you
Mhm.
following your own dreams.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
kind of can you, and certainly not to put parents on blast, but kind of from your perspective, what do you think about
Mhm.
that?
Well, it's funny that you say that because my mom and we have conversations all the time about this, and she is always in my corner. She's always there to support me. Both of my parents, both my dad and my mom. Um, but my mom more specifically, just because we talk a little bit more about it.
Mhm,
Um, Even before I graduated, I was having trouble figuring out, like, even in my senior year. And I know that there are a lot of students in high school that they have a plan, they have a mindset,
mhm,
like from freshman year of what they want to do, their plan, how they're going to get there, and then after that, after high school. But in my mind, I wasn't even thinking that far ahead.
mhm,
Before senior year, really before junior year, I was just, kind of in school, and I wasn't really in a whole bunch of extracurricular activities.
mhm,
um and so I wasn't thinking in terms of, okay, how can I get into college? I need to fill out scholarships. I need
mhm,
to, make sure that these things are um, on my transcript. I wasn't thinking about that kind of thing until junior year.
mhm,
And, I'd have these conversations with my mom, like, I don't even know, like, what I want to do, where I want to go. And she always made sure that there were always things that she wanted to do when she was my age going into college. um and of and she wanted to be in a drama program. She
mhm,
knew that one of her gifts was speaking, and she could express herself very well,
mhm,
and she liked theater and drama, and she did that. But she ended up getting a nursing degree.
mhm,
And so those are two completely different
yeah,
things.
yeah,
And so because her parents had told her, like, hey, this is how you can be successful, you can do this, this, and this.
mhm,
Acting is not one of those things.
right,
And so she always wanted to make sure that she wasn't living vicariously through me, or she wants to live vicariously through me, but she didn't want me to feel pressure
mhm,
to fill in shoes that she never could, or anything
mhm,
like that. Like, she it was really important for her to make sure that she could allow both me and my brother to be very um open, and to be able to express ourselves, um so that we knew that she supported us in whatever
mhm,
it was that we wanted to do.
okay,
So anything that we did, she was always there. Both of my parents were always there to support us and help us in that journey.
awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, so now I have a couple of, so in holding these meeting greets, a couple of
Mhm.
things that have come up that I thought were really great ideas. And one of
Mhm.
them was, and this is, so to me, from an educational standpoint as a candidate, my goal is
Mhm.
to help young people transition into adulthood. And
Mhm.
so, kind of thinking around the 10th grade, you kind of have a good idea of kind of where you want to start your journey. Now, it may not be where you end up, because like you said, life is, there's plenty of opportunities and different things that you're doing in your life. But to me, it seems like, where do I get started? So basically, I kind of look at it within a three-tier system that, kind of thinking about, okay, one, a person may want to go into the military. So that's an
Right.
option. So if there are ROTC type programs that are available.
Mhm.
The second
Mhm.
one is the students that want to go to college. And for
Mhm.
those students, it's taking the college prep classes, taking courses at CPCC or community, in our case, or any community college, and also understanding about grants and scholarship programs that are available. And then the third one is for the students that don't want to go to college or the military. And one person brought up a great idea of allowing entrepreneurs to come into the school system to just talk with students about other options and sort of like feeding that dream or seeing other opportunities that you can pursue. So kind of what are your thoughts on that?
Yes. I've I've always sort of been the person to deviate away from like tradition,
Mhm,
just in the sense, especially just in the sense of like careers and things like that, and really mostly just because I never felt like I could do those things, um not because of like lack of confidence or lack of support or anything, just
mhm,
because that's just not what I was interested in. um and I think it's important for us as a whole community, and us as, or me, as young people, to be exposed to multiple avenues
mhm,
for their future, because it's important to to it's important when you're in school for people to give you more options besides just like college and,
mhm,
and testing and
right,
scoring, because especially in um what am I trying to say, uh my county is Mecklenburg, so like CMS, like just the school system,
mhm,
your last 2 years of high school is has a lot to do with college, kind
mhm,
of, and
mhm,
testing, and preparing you for SATs and AP testing, and all of this stuff, all of these tests to help you get into college and to help you get scholarships. And it's like, what if I want more options? What if I want to explore other avenues?
mhm,
And people aren't even thinking of that, because it's just that one track mind.
right.
And so I definitely think it's important to have those resources, and I think it's really cool to get different types of people in to talk to students about different ways to go about attacking their future.
Mhm,
And even if they still have like this one idea in their head of what they want to do, that might change, even when you go off to college and you pursue that thing and you get your degree and you're happy and it's good, you can still change your mind later on after that. And so it's always good to just have those resources and to be open to that.
yep,
It doesn't hurt.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so kind of looking at my own life, I kind of had three careers. So one was in the military. Then I
Mhm,
went to college to become an accountant, become a CPA. Knew I
mhm,
loved IT much better. So then I transitioned into IT. So to
mhm,
your point, now I will say I got my accounting degree because that was sort of the hardest degree I could get.
mhm,
I felt like, okay, if I go to college, get an accounting degree, I can at least get a job. And so
mhm,
that was really the mindset behind accounting because I would have gone into
mhm,
computer science, but I just didn't have the time or probably could not have gotten a computer science degree, quite frankly. And so,
mhm.
and so to your point, it's, kind of looking at these other options of getting you to a point, but you don't have to necessarily take that one straight path to get there.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm,
And so now here's another theory that I had, and this is kind of just want to run it by you, that one of the things I thought about for kids that don't want to go to college is to work with parents to say that, okay, I'm going to stay home for the next 4 years. So instead of going out to college, stay home,
mhm,
work. I will save money,
mhm,
so kind of think about what you would get from a minimum wage standpoint, the ability to save at least $1,000 a month,
mhm,
stay home, hopefully not be able to have to pay rent if you do something that you can
mhm,
work out with your parents, but kind of
mhm.
with the mindset that if you stayed home and saved $1,000 a year for 4 years, as opposed to going to college, you would have $50,000 in the bank at the end of those 4 years. to start whatever, and obviously time to kind of think about what is it that I want to do. So what are your thoughts on that? And that's not, to me, it's not a government action. That's just a
Yeah.
sort of something just to promote, to say, here's another way of thinking about helping your child
Mhm.
start their journey. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love that because, a lot of times when high schoolers are thinking about what they want to do and they're thinking that the military might not be for them or they might just not be ready yet. College isn't, they're not really thinking about college either. And they just, or even just that they feel like they need a break. Um, Sometimes it can be hard to go to your parents and tell them that, depending on how you've been raised and how you know your parents best. Especially if they have in their mind, oh, I'm so excited for my child to go to college and be successful. Not to say that doing anything else doesn't make you successful,
Mhm.
but it can be difficult, in that situation, trying to persuade or convince your parents, like, hey, can we be open to this idea? How could we go about maybe letting me stay here, and
Mhm.
exploring options with your parents. I know for me, the biggest thing to where my mom could be open enough and be like, huh, okay, this is interesting, is I told her, I was just like, Mom, I don't think I can do school right now, because I just, filling out those applications, I could not answer those questions truthfully.
Mhm.
Things like, well, what can you bring to the table at this university? Why do you want to go to this university? And I thought
Mhm.
to myself, I don't.
Right.
I think I don't. So I told her, and she said that that makes a lot of sense, because Arynn, you're very intentional and you like to make your decisions. You put a lot of thought into your decisions,
Mhm.
and so I told her, like, yeah, I feel like in the long run, I'm just saving so much time and so much money,
Mhm.
especially because um, I was not applying for scholarships up until like a year ago. So the second semester of um, of my last year in high school, which is kind of late if you plan
Right.
on going to college, because that's kind of when you get acceptance letters around this
Right.
time. And so um I think that saving up and taking your years off to figure out what you want to do, or just like explore different things and take classes, because it's also, for some things that people want to do, it doesn't take 4 years to do it. It
Right.
may take a year and a half or two
Mhm.
years. And so I love the idea of just kind of being able to have a place to um, sit and create a plan and save up and save money, for whatever, whether that's like a business
Mhm.
or a new place to live,
Right.
um, whatever it may be, a license,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So now, from if you could do anything in the world, you don't have to share what it is, but if you could do anything in the world right now that would motivate you to get up and follow your dream, that dream or that aspiration, would you be able to kind of pinpoint what that would be? If you basically, there were no blockers. Again, you don't have to tell me what that is, but kind of thinking about in a world in which there are no blockers, would you be motivated to pursue that? Do you have a, well, more, do you have a dream or a goal that, if I could remove those barriers, I would pursue this in a heartbeat?
um that's a good question. So um I think, hmm, I guess if there was anything, it would just kind of to be, um, similar to what you're doing, having interviews with people about this kind of thing. Um, I just, I think it would be really cool to get people's minds open to the idea or to the ideas of other possibilities
Mhm.
besides the besides what people are used to, and besides what people think is going to keep them sustained in life,
Mm.
because there are plenty of stories that people have to tell about their small business that is this big corporation now, and or even just like things like, yeah, I didn't want to be the boss of a company, but now I'm here, working for something that I believe in and something that I truly love, uh and I can sustain myself perfectly fine.
Mm.
So I guess, like, if there was a way to just um to show people that there are other options, there are other ways. You don't have to be in debt with student loans.
Mhm.
You don't have to um you don't have to struggle about, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my life, because one of the biggest things that I had to learn was that it's okay to not know what your future looks like.
Right.
Um because um another one of the biggest reasons why I didn't go to college was because I didn't, I was in drama, I was doing theater, but I didn't know if I wanted to continue to do that in
Mhm.
college,
Mhm.
because that was the only thing I knew that I was passionate about.
Mhm.
And I didn't know if I wanted to work for that. I didn't know if I had the discipline and the mindset to work for that after college to be able to sustain myself.
Mhm.
So, because there's so many different, like, side hustles and different things you can do now. So I think just keeping people with an open mind, and um, showing parents from my parents' perspective that, like, it's okay to let your child rest and kind of take a semester off, be open and be supportive with them. I think that's pretty important to me, I think. um yeah.
That's awesome because I think that you are articulating something that I think a lot of older people really don't hear is
Mhm.
that, sometimes it is, I just want to slow down. That's kind of my perception. I just want to slow down, actually
Mhm.
think about my next step because
Mhm.
high school can be a blur, especially with
Yes.
all the activities that you're doing today. And so it can be a blur. And then all of a sudden you're saying, okay, great. Now you're ready for adulthood. Enjoy. It's like, okay, let me slow down a little bit. And I think it is important for, again, for young people like you to express yourself primarily because, again, we don't, and you can tell adults really don't hear this message. And I think you have a lot of support with your family, but thinking about kids that don't have that level of support,
Exactly, right.
and so you see a much darker outcome. So,
Mhm.
Tam, if you have any thoughts on that? Sort of like
Yes.
the flip side.
Yeah, because when you don't have that kind of support, um you kind of go into this spiral of, like, okay, now I'm just gonna do the routine thing, do what my parents want. So let's say you get into this specific activity and then they're really proud of you, and you can see, because a lot of times children want their parents to be proud of them, like, people want people to be proud of them, especially, like, when you're extremely young. That validation from your parents means a lot. Um and so when you can see that smile on their face, or them saying, like, I'm so proud of you, typically speaking, that pressure, you want to keep it up, because you
Yeah.
you want to continue to see them happy for you and for your future and for your life. So then your motivation doesn't become, I'm doing this because this is what I want to go after, this is what I'm passionate about, it then becomes, I'm doing this because it makes my parents happy, or I'm doing this because it makes this person happy or this person happy. And so it is really difficult not having a good support system, because then, you go off to college and you do this thing, and maybe you don't hate it. Maybe it's okay. And maybe while you're in college, you kind of get to explore other avenues and do some other things that you may have been interested in before. And so then maybe, let's say your grades slip, or if you're on a scholarship that's not looking too good right now, and so your parents get contacted, and then you're like, well, I'm fine, it's just that I'm just struggling a little bit. And so then you get that pressure back on them, especially if your parents are paying for college. You feel like you have to do what they want so that you can go to college. If you want to go to college, and it's like, well, I don't have any money, and if they're paying for me, then I'm just going to do what they want. So then there's that too. And then once you leave and you get a job, it's just not what you want. And so then at this point, you're in like early adulthood, and then you have to worry about other things besides like your like school, because you're like, okay, I have this degree, now I have bills to pay, now I've got taxes, now all these things that you have to think about, in taking care of yourself. And so it's really difficult, because in the long run, it's just a lot. And I mean, I feel like I'm not there yet, of course, but you definitely grow through that whole experience. And it makes you stronger.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, it can't be easy. It's really important, and I'm very blessed and very grateful to have that support on my side. So also being that support for other people, and and if not to help their support system grow, like with the people that they're surrounded with, just to be their support in general.
So I will say you described the first part of my life to a T. It's actually just funny thinking about when you were talking. I literally did not tell my parents I did not want to go to college until I had graduated. I think it was around June, or it was probably around June,
Hmm.
July, that I
Hmm.
told them I don't want to go to college, because
Hmm.
they had, I was going to A&T, and they had paid for room. They had put down the deposit. So they're like, he is going off to college. And the whole time I was thinking, I really don't want to go to college. I don't think I'm ready. I'm thinking about what you were saying. They're going to be paying for this, and what kind of grades am I going to get? I mean, I literally, my 10th grade year, I could have failed my 10th grade if I had not taken some questionable path. So, but I got my act together my 11th and 12th grade year, but it was still that feeling that I'm not ready for college. But then when I
Right.
told my parents, they were upset, and not realizing I had great parents. So, no doubt I have great parents, well, had great parents, and they were very supportive after the initial shock. They were
Hmm.
supportive of me going in the Air Force. And my mom used to brag that, well, you knew more than we did, because they didn't
Hmm.
have to pay for me to go to college. I was able to use the GI
Hmm.
Bill. But
Hmm.
you described to a T, I think, that feeling of, yes, I want to make you happy. I don't want to disappoint you, but this path that you want me to take is not the path I want to take.
Right.
And I think it is so important that we allow kids to, you follow your dreams, not our dreams. It's how I look
Hmm.
at it. And so I think you really articulated that really well. Um, Now you've done a great job here. So now I'm actually a couple of quick political questions.
Oh
So,
God.
so do you believe, so do you believe the government helps, hurts, or is indifferent to helping young people like yourself transition into adulthood?
Um, so I think that they, I'd have to say that they hurt a little bit,
Mhm.
because like I was saying in the beginning, it's just the way that the school system is
Yeah.
um because it just feels like there's this cycle. It's like, you're born, and then you go to school,
Mm.
and then you go to school until you're 18, and that, or until however old you are, until you graduate from high school. But it's not over, because if you go to college, there's more school,
Mm.
and then after those 4 years, if you want to go back to school, there's more school. And so it's like school may be half of your life. It could be like half of your life. And school, for a lot of people, is a small portion of their life. And I just think that it's like when I graduated, I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, because I knew that I wasn't going to college at that time, when I graduated, and I had this gap year. I did have a plan of what I was going to do, but that plan changed. And so, in terms of what I was going to do during the year, I was going to travel,
Mm.
um, but I decided to hold off on that. Um, and I was just like, I don't. Over the summer, I was like, I don't know what to do with myself, because all I know is school, and waking up, and getting in the car, or going on the bus, going to school, having lunch for like 30 minutes, depending on how your schedule was, and going from first block to second block to third block, and taking these tests, and doing group projects. And I mean, I will say school prepares you for life skills, in the sense of discipline and scheduling and deadlines. Those are really, really big things. And I was telling my mom this a couple of weeks ago, that when people say you're going to need to know this when you get when in the real world, that definitely for anyone, no matter what you do, it's important. Um, and if you don't establish that, then at some point, you're gonna see how that comes into play. But in terms of like the education, and or I won't say that the like the school piece of it, for me, mm, at least half of the stuff that I learned in school, I am not gonna need that, in terms of how I feel my future might go. And that can change, but I can also tell you that half of the stuff I learned in school, I do not remember. And I like, it's not, I'm like fresh out of school. So that might just be me and my retaining skills, but I don't remember a lot of that stuff.
Right.
And so it can help for people. For me, it did not, in some situations, just because, like I said, school was all I knew. So when I in the summertime, I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know where to go. A lot of my friends were preparing to either go to college or were still in high school. So I was like, what do I do with myself? I never had a job before, because I was, acting. That's where I devoted most of my time besides school. Um, so I didn't really know what that looked like. And yes, there were other things that I had been interested in, like acting, but another reason why I took the year off was because I needed a year away from acting, to kind of try and find some different things to do. So it's kind of a shock. It's 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 a it's a life shock, because after that, for me, I was just so lost, and so like confused. Like, what do people do if they don't follow this path?
Right.
What does it look like? So um yeah, for me, it didn't it definitely I definitely it helped me see some things. But yeah, it didn't help in that way for me. Mhm.
Awesome. I think that you speak for a lot of people, and I would say the most important life skill that you could ever have, you already have it. You can articulate yourself, and you can you do you love to read?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and to me, you could that the ability to express yourself is the most important skill that you'll have, because any other
Mhm.
skill you can really get in the workplace. I mean,
Mhm.
like I won't say that I didn't use what I learned in school, because you learned a foundation on how to learn,
Right.
how to
Yeah,
study,
you're
how to
right.
learn. But I
Yeah.
will say that the most important skills were, can you communicate with people at all different levels? If you
Mhm.
can do that, no matter what you go into, you're going to be successful.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, you're fine. Um, Now, if I'm elected, what would you like to see me do?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Mhm. And this could be
Um,
anything. It doesn't have to be education. Just anything that you see that you believe government can help with or assist with.
wow.
Mhm.
Hmm. Well, I guess since this is on my mind, since this is what we've been talking about,
Mhm.
education and I would say, and I know that there are a lot of after school programs for people who uh, um, there are a lot of after school things that people do um, in terms of extracurriculars and clubs. But I think kind of just what I was talking about before, I think it would be really beneficial and really important to have some kind of program where or maybe not even a program, just a community where people can explore options about their future. And I don't think it necessarily has to be exclusively for young people, because there are people who are, parents, single parents who maybe they have questions, about their children or about themselves. Maybe you're not a parent, maybe you're just an adult who has a change in lifestyle and a paradigm shift, and they just need a community to go to, or something, an outlet where we can, bring heads together and just kind of just like have an outlet to share stories and explore different things for people who um, are interested in changing their future, starting their future with little to no information, no experience. They don't know what to do, kind of like, how I said I was, still am kind of, just having that outlet, because then there's people of all different ages who don't know and they just have questions. And then there are people who can also be there from the other side of it, helping and assisting and sharing resources and people, um where they can just be like, yeah, so I've been where you are, and this is what I did, and these were some of the things that helped me, and this is how I went about doing this. um I think that would be really cool, and I know that there are all kinds of things out there,
Mhm.
and I know that's kind of broad, but I just feel like, there's power in numbers, and,
Mhm.
we're stronger together, all of that
Right.
stuff. is true, and I think that we all find comfort. I find comfort in knowing that I'm not by myself, and that there are thousands of people who feel the same way. And so I feel like if we can, put some heads together, uh, just to give people ideas, I think that would be really cool. But like I said, I know that's kind of broad, but
Actually,
um,
it's not as broad as you think, because
yeah.
I think you actually hit the nail on the head. And
Mhm.
again, not sidebar on the policies I'm advocating for. It's really about modernizing the educational system to do exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying. It's basically helping people to transition through life. So it's not just about graduate from high school, but it's things that you're going to do as an adult. And as you transition to different opportunities, you want to learn different life skills, or unhappy where you're currently at, and basically having a pathway for you to go on that journey. And so what
Yeah.
you said is just you nailed it. uh, so now, in closing, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
um, well, I mean, I appreciate this conversation. I think it's important for all generations, people in my generation, and like I'm Generation Z, and millennials, and like my mom's generation, and baby boomers. I think it's important for each generation, because I believe that each generation thinks differently with these kinds of things, because of how they were raised, and where they come from. And think I think it's important for these types of conversations to be had with people from every generation,
Mhm.
so that people can see, like, oh, this is how you feel. You don't think that college should be a main option.
Mhm.
You don't think that uh the military is the only other option besides college. um so I think I think it's important to have these conversations, um because that's how you can, like I said before, build support, and um just have better awareness
Mhm.
of this kind of situation, because it's so common. We have these new generations. There's a graduating class every year, and so that's every year that people can have this conversation and learn about these different things. um so yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would say that again, you hit the nail on the head. I will always tell young people, you need to get involved in politics and in all areas of society, because adults, we don't have good answers. In a lot of ways, kind of thinking about the baggage that we carry, is that,
Mhm.
each generation, I always look at it like this: we inherited problems, we solved some of them, and we created new
Mhm.
problems. So now we're
Mhm.
passing the torch on to you. So you don't look at the world and say, well, and I used to think about, when I was your age, okay, adults are so smart. And now that I'm 54, it's like, no, we're not. We're not, obviously we have more wisdom, more knowledge, but we also carry a lot of baggage. And even when
Mhm.
you're talking about college, I've heard adults talk about what kids want to go, going to college. You can watch news programs, and they'll say, well, everyone doesn't need to go to college, but no one actually sits with a person in that situation and ask, well, what is your opinion about going to college, or whatever,
Mhm.
is going to affect you directly. So I think, giving you the opportunity and you taking the opportunity, I really appreciate, because
Mhm.
you're articulating your position far better than anything that I could do. So I just really thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Yes.
And Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
One thing I was thinking about while you said that, I wanted to quickly add. Also, there is no timeline for success. And I air quote that because that looks different for everyone. And success does not equate to money a lot of times. And there's no timeline for that. Like when I was in 11th grade, I had this really big issue with my transcript because I needed some credits that I didn't have, and I was really worried that I would like not be able to graduate. And it wasn't, and it was because of the transition between schools that I was going to. And so when I moved into back into my county, the rules were different, and so I needed certain credits that I could have gotten, but I didn't know I needed. And so that was very frustrating. And I was like, no, like I have to do this. I want to graduate when I'm, meant to graduate. And so I can't stress enough, like it's okay to be like, maybe graduate a semester after you were meant to, or a year after. Things happen, life happens. A lot of it could be family emergencies, health things, mental things. There's so many different things in life that can happen that can kind of cause major setbacks to what you've been doing and what you've been planning, and that's okay. Because everything happens for a reason. And so you just gotta roll with the punches and you know do that. So
I think that's awesome. That again, you hit the nail on the head. Now, my parents, was adopted, so and they were much older. So my mom was in her 50s. Well, both of them were in their 50s when they were raising me. So it was actually pretty cool for me to talk to them and for them to share so many stories about 50
Mm,
years of life experiences. And so to the point that you just made, it helped me to understand that I don't have to go to college. I won't, even though I'll be 22 when I start college, I'll be fine.
yeah.
I will still have plenty of time in life. And now at 54, it's like, yeah, I really did have plenty of time in life. So again, you're full of wisdom and knowledge. So
Thank you.
keep going. And like the way you carry yourself, you're going to be successful, whatever you endeavor to do. And you know what? Again, I just really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. I want you to
Thank
take
you.
care and God bless. And
Thank you.
again, just I can't thank you enough for this.
Thank you. I appreciate this conversation, and thank you to you also for taking the time to do this.
Uh,
Sorry about earlier.
no, no problem. So nobody would even known about that. I'll stop recording now.